What's up, Norberg Nation? How's it going? Sorry I haven't posted in a while. I've been super busy, from hosting my Norberg Pro-Kart Invitational to running the Norberg Karting Academy. It's just been a very busy beginning of the year, but we are back and we are ready with some more videos. Before we talk about some up and coming things like some of the races I've been at, doing some race reviews, or even the Norberg Pro-Kart race review. I get to review my own race, which is going to be really exciting. We are going to be talking about 5 mistakes that are costing you a ton of time in your karting career. If you fix these 5 mistakes, you will see a serious improvement in your racing speed. So let's get started with the video. The first mistake that you're making as a driver is trying to feel fast. Now, I know this sounds silly, but feeling fast in a kart isn't necessarily a good thing. I always use the example of Max Verstappen in a Formula 1 car. He probably doesn't feel like he's going that fast in a Formula 1 car. He probably doesn't feel like he's going over 200 miles an hour. Whereas if you put a regular person in that car, it probably feels fast because they don't know what to expect. And that's the key word, expect. If you're going around the racetrack and you're not being proactive with your driving and getting ahead of the mistakes that you're making, you are going to be reacting to what the kart is doing instead of being proactive. This is going to make you really focus on the immediate cause at hand. If you're going off the track all the time, you're going to be really focused on keeping the kart on the racetrack instead of focusing on your braking zones, instead of focusing on different lines, different acceleration points, all these little things that make you a faster driver. If you're constantly running out of racetrack or you're constantly sliding the go-kart through the corner, there's no possible way to create a consistent racing line. What you need to do is slow the kart down till it's a much more manageable speed. Brake a little bit earlier, get on the gas a little bit later, and slowly creep your way up and deeper into the braking zone. By doing this, you're allowing yourself to have a consistent mark for your braking zones, a consistent throttle spot, a consistent turn-in point. This allows you to create some level of consistency, and you can start building off of there. A racing line needs a great foundation, and if you don't have a great foundation, all you're going to be doing is wasting a lot of time on the racetrack. So slow the kart down to where it's a much more manageable speed and start to push from there. I know it sounds crazy, but racing shouldn't feel fast. The next mistake that you're making that's costing you a ton of time in your racing is losing your cool. Now, this is something that happens to me and many drivers like me. It doesn't matter if you're the best driver in the world or the worst driver in the world, losing your cool happens to everybody. Making a mistake in a braking zone or missing a turn-in spot will cost you maybe 2/10 at the most, a tenth on average. But getting caught up in a stupid nonsense battle with another driver is gonna cost you seconds. I'd like to tell everybody that no matter what happens on the racetrack, if somebody runs you off the racetrack or pods you really hard, you are now in that spot. It doesn't matter if you started 4th and now you're 16th, your race is starting over in the 16th. So you need to treat it like that. Try to erase everything that just happened and focus on the fact that now you're in 16th and you need to go forward. Approach the race as that. You need to be able to hit the reset button and put your emotions behind you. Take a deep breath. This is something that I do a lot, and hopefully we'll do another video later on about some emotion control when you're on the racetrack. But taking a deep breath and taking a moment to take yourself out of that initial red mist anger that you get will help you so much during your race. If you can calm down and save yourself 2 or 3 meaningless passes just because you're angry, you're gonna save so much time during your race. The third mistake that you're making that's costing you valuable time on the racetrack is not listening to the go-kart. The kart communicates almost exactly what it wants from you. The go-kart doesn't like to be slid. It likes to be driven fast into the corners. If you're sliding, slow down. I don't know how many times I have to tell people this, but if the tires are squealing and yelling at you, you need to slow down. I know it might not even be a big slide, but try to slow the kart down a little bit just to keep the tires underneath you. If you listen to the go-kart, you can make those small calculations while on the racetrack that allow you to pick up valuable tenths of a second during your race. If you make these adjustments fast and on the fly, you can pick this up before your competitors do, and that'll give you a huge advantage at the beginning or during the entire race. So listen to what the kart is telling you. Again, if the kart is sliding, slow it down. Bring your braking zones back. If you get on the gas and the back steps out, get on the gas later. Listen to the go-kart. If you go into the corner and the kart feels really heavy and you don't really slide at all and the kart bucks a little bit, move your braking zone a little bit deeper. Try to push the grip levels a little bit. You can normally feel when there's more grip on the table, so try to get after it. Get that grip. If you don't listen to the go-kart, you're gonna be losing a lot of time. The fourth mistake that you're making that's costing you time on the racetrack is not anticipating what the track is going to do. A common mistake many drivers do is they look at their data or whatever and they find out, okay, I'm braking a little bit early. So then the next session they go out, they brake a little bit later, but now they're sliding past the apex. The reason is the track changed and they changed their driving for the previous session. Any notes you make after a session are only for the previous session, not the future session. And that's an important distinction. Any change you make for your setup or your driving needs to be under the understanding that it's for the previous session. For example, if you were on the racetrack and the kart felt like it was overstuck and you had too much grip, but you know that in the evening, the track tends to free up a little bit. Maybe you don't free the go-kart up before that session and you just leave it so that it's good for the evening session. Making that little distinction is going to help you a lot because again, it gives you that edge over your competitors. A good driver is one that's not going to get caught up in a previous session and let that dictate how they drive in the future. Pay attention to what the track is going to do in the natural evolution of a racetrack. Obviously, they're notes, so you got to take them into consideration. But again, anticipate what the track is going to do. Sometimes you won't interpret it correctly, and that's fine. But if you take into consideration what's going to happen instead of what just happened, you're going to be in a much better position going into that next race. And finally, one big mistake that's costing you a ton of time on the racetrack is poor throttle control. I always tell everybody the throttle is a great tool to minimizing mistakes. It's the last thing you do through a corner. So you can miss your braking zone and miss your turn-in spot, but if you have good throttle control, you can minimize that mistake and make it as little as possible. For example, if you were to brake early for a corner, that's going to force you to get on the throttle a little bit early as well. But if you smash the throttle, what could have been a 2/10 mistake turns into being a 5/10 mistake. Do that over the course of 10 laps, and now you've got 3-second loss on your hands. Every driver makes mistakes. I make a ton of mistakes when I'm racing. But if you have good throttle technique, you can ease on the throttle slowly and minimize a little bit of a slide you might have had coming out of a corner. If you brake too late and go into a corner too fast, smashing the throttle is just going to make the problem worse. I always tell everybody, try the 1-second rule. It's a good drill to use while you're practicing. It should take 1 second to go from all the way off the throttle to full throttle. By doing this, it allows you to get a good sense of the entire throttle play. If you do this over and over and over, it'll give you a much better feeling of the entire throttle. Where the power kicks in for the engine. How fast can you get to it in a slow corner? How slow can you get to it in a fast corner? There are so many possibilities if you have good throttle control. But mainly it minimizes your mistakes, and that's going to help you out a ton during your races. If you fix these 5 mistakes, you will see a serious improvement in not only your racing, but your lap times. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please make sure to like and subscribe, and let me know down below if there are any mistakes that you make consistently that cost you a lot of time in your racing. I'm sure if you comment them down below, we can touch on them in another video, and hopefully we can help you out. Please make sure to follow me on my Instagram, Facebook, and my TikTok. Also, make sure to follow the Norberg Karting Academy on Instagram and Facebook as well. Once again, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.